This is the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast, your source for the strategies, systems, and smarts you need to turn possibility into purpose. Every week, we dive into dynamic conversations as our host, Nicole Greer, interviews leadership and business experts. They're here to shed light on practical solutions to the challenges of personal and professional development. Now, here's your host, a professional speaker, coach, and consultant, Nicole Greer.
Welcome, everybody, to the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. I am Nicole Greer, and they call me the Vibrant Coach, and I am here with another amazing, vibrant, light up the day kind of guest. It's Hanna Bauer, and look what she sent me in the mail, everybody. Hustle with Heart. Yay! 52 mini shifts to maximize your impact, and we all know that leadership is all about impact and influence. So Hanna Bauer is the founder and CEO of Heartnomics, a leadership and organizational transformation firm that blends operational excellence with human-centered design. She is a Maxwell Leadership faculty member, a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, and a Baldrige Examiner. She equips leaders to drive transformation through love, excellence, and measurable performance. Her resilience is personal and shaped by surviving childhood heart disease and a pioneering heart procedure that redefined her purpose. Wow. That breakthrough became the blueprint of Heartnomics, and that is her trademark look at the world. I love it, where she leads leaders to restore rhythm, reclaim human potential, and lead with both heart and precision. Hanna brings powerful stories, practical tools, and a refreshing approach to leadership that inspires audiences to rethink how they work, live, and lead. Welcome to the show, Hanna. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. Such a warm welcome. I really appreciate it. I love the Vibrant Culture name. I love your energy and just looking forward to having an awesome conversation with you today.
Oh, me too. Me too. And I love your little book, Hustle with Heart. So first of all, everybody's dying to know about, what happened in your childhood. Tell us about that. What was that formational story?
Well, actually at the age of 4, I was a healthy child, but at 4, I got diagnosed with, at the time, it was considered a terminal condition with the heart disease, where my heart would go suddenly from being normal to 240 beats per minute, go not only fast, which is tachycardia. A lot of people may experience going fast when they go work out, you feel like your heart's pumping fast, but it would happen sitting down. And not only would it go fast, but it will go abnormal. So it's also arrhythmia. So it's tachycardia and arrhythmia. At the same time, that would cause my heart to not only go fast, but then flatline, trying to reset. So as a kid, I grew up since I was 4, up until the age of 14. At the time, there's not much back in the 80s, early 90s, and even the research still a bit behind for women in heart disease. But as a child with heart disease, there was not much then either. So a lot of my childhood was learning how to breathe and being in a hospital, getting to experience. That's where the little book comes from. It was something written as a kid, how I overcame that, because obviously I couldn't go to school many months. I lived in Children's Healthcare of Atlanta here in Georgia, procedures, but all the way, not only through heart cath, open heart, a lot of drugs that trying to find something. But while I was in the heart transplant list, there's something really interesting is that my doctor always believed that my muscle was very strong. So a heart transplant for me would have only given me 10 years. And there was an opportunity that came for an innovative surgery. It had not been done, but it's called a heart ablation. Now, most people will know that by now because it's like over 30 years later. But I was the first child. It was experimental to have this heart ablation, which essentially what it did is burning spots, making a pathway, electrical pathway for when the heart beats correctly, it's able to have the flow, the blood circulating well. So that's where a lot of my learning came from, because I realized, one, with an ablation, even the whole name itself is you can have too much of a good thing. I had too much energy, basically the spots that would make it go out of rhythm. So creating a clear pathway allowed my heart to beat with the right energy. But not only that, it was the excellence that I learned from my doctors, because there was a lot of failure. There was a lot of failures. It was very painful, but innovation really that the hope that there could be a change not only led them to come to this surgery that saved me, but when they did a 20-year anniversary, it had already saved 3,000 other kids in Atlanta alone.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's where it came from. A lot of the beat methods, things that I couldn't do. There was not much I could do in bed as a kid, and still was able to go to the university, still took AP classes, and later on led an educational company that became nationally recognized and then got to lead the industry and American Association of Publishers later on. So God is good. And
Yes, he is all the
it's been an
time.
amazing, yeah. So it's been an amazing ride.
That's fantastic. And like, there's so many metaphors in your story. First of all, you got to have the proper pathway. You got to take a
Yes.
risk. You got to lean into
Yeah.
innovation, right? So it's just
Yes.
a wonderful, wonderful story. Yeah. So what I love your idea of heartnomics, right? So how does the heart and economics come together? How do those two add up? I think I've got an idea, but I want to hear your story on it.
Yeah. Well, it's everything, right? I mean, like the heart. I mean, think about it. I mean, our products as a business, as an organization, the heart, we say, and it's true, is the people, right? And without the people,
100%.
without clients that we're serving, you have no business. Without the people that are creating the products, there is no business. So you have both the internal and the external customer. They are truly the heart of the organization. And for me, that is represented in the love, right? And love is not just this concept that we have out there in this
Yeah.
fluff. People think it's fluff. I mean, try
No, it's
loving somebody.
hard. Love is hard, people. It's really hard.
It is. And then much of what we ask everybody really in what we're doing with service and customer service in an organization, it requires love. It requires empathy, it requires awareness. Why do I need to be aware of myself so that I can treat somebody better? So the love is a lot of this emotional intelligence aspect, but also the excellence is the systematic way that we learn the process, right? Because you can have great people, but if you don't have great processes and systems, that enable you to be able to learn from those mistakes. Just like I saw with my doctors, right? I mean, like there was failure. I mean, there were surgeries, open heart, things, drugs, they
Right.
didn't work. But unless there was a way to collect that information, unless there was a way to like, okay, what can we do better? What needed to be adjusted? There had to be a process, a system that even in light of failure, we're learning. So they're not failures. I mean, all of those were ways to progress. And that's where the excellence come in. But I come to realize that the Heartnomics for me is not only the ecosystem of the processes and the systems, it's not only the heart, the people, but it's the leadership really that makes them both work together. So the Heartnomics is the leadership of balancing processes, is great processes and systems, and great people and teams.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And, I think sometimes people forget that if you love the people, they'll work harder and they'll be
Oh
more
yeah.
dedicated and loyal and all the things that you want that make the numbers happen, right? So I think that's how it goes together, like peanut butter and jelly.
Oh yeah, no, and I learned that the hard way, honestly. I mean, even with what I talk about with heart, sometimes we don't give credit to that because we want to make it like, more logical, which it has to be logical, right? And it has to be smart, but it has to be 100% about the people. And I remember when I was implementing things, and trying to help others, I forgot that I was trying to lead by processes and systems and memos and just making everything really direct. And there's nothing that's linear about leadership, really. Humans are beautiful, complex beings that need to be able to have that leadership there. But it is 100% about the people, for the people. And honestly, something that we forget. Again, I forgot that. I learned that lesson and came back and
Yeah.
100%
Well,
the team.
here's what I know. People make product and people make profit. That's how it all works, right? And they make service.
Yes.
So it all works together. Okay. Now, HEART is an acronym, which I love because I have my own little acronym. It's called SHINE. And it's my
Yeah.
little coaching methodology, but you've got this journey called the HEART framework. And so the first
Yes.
thing is H, right? And that stands for hope. And it serves as a catalyst for change. So I'm all about the change management. So talk about hope
Yeah.
being a catalyst for change.
Well, I realized as I was going through leadership, right? So I've had this, I've done great trips and work with a lot of leaders. I've been very privileged to go into rooms with amazing, amazing people that are doing great things. And the heart framework is a values-based leadership model that I've seen repeatedly, not only through my life, but in leaders that are accomplishing great things. That are really making that impact and that difference that inspire me and are values that I live by. So hope, I came to really understand that, not just like as a concept, this wonderful thing that we call hope. There's nothing passive about hope. Sometimes people confuse hope with positivity. And it's not just being passive, like, oh, well, I wish or I hope, but it really is a catalyst. Hope allows you to be strategic and being able to find a way where there is no way. I realized that there were things in my life that I wasn't looking for solutions. And it wasn't because I didn't know that. It's just I had actually lost hope in those areas. Then I kind of put them in a box. It wasn't a time management problem, it was a hope problem. So when I got a grasp of what hope really did, it helped me like, well, if hope really helps be a catalyst, and if it really is something that I can grow in, how do I grow it? And that's what the book's about, is applying to be intentional in growing in hope, to find solutions when there seems to be no solutions, to get the energy, because a lot of times, like, okay, it's just the overwhelm, but to be able to, like, just like in my heart, right? To be able to create a pathway, to be able to create that energy so that things will flow, and really understanding that hope is part of the strategy. Everything starts with hope. And looking at that also as a measurement to where, how am I doing in my hope in that area? Because we're able to create momentum with hope in our teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all talk about having a vision and a mission for the future of our
Yeah.
organizations. And if you have a vision and there's no hope, then it's just like a balloon where the air gets let out. It's like you got to hold the vision up. And what do you hold it up with? You hold it up with hope. I'm really
Yes.
hoping for this. I'm really wanting this, right? And so it's this
You're
deep, deep desire for something that pushes the vision forward and the mission forward. And I love the thing where you keep saying, well, finding an answer when there might appear to be no answer. I mean, that is the thing that gets people in a room and around a flip chart and working on something,
Yeah,
right? Is like, we've
absolutely.
got
I
to
mean,
figure out. Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, we have all kinds of access to strategies and we have access to tools and resources, but that doesn't give you that fire. It's that catalyst. Like what really gets
Yeah.
those things going is raising your team's hope, right? Hey, we really believe in this, and not like just hot air and right there. No, on the contrary, like hope is utilized to be able to utilize these tools correctly and these resources and allocate, because you start seeing things in a different way. And hope is the beginning of that.
Yeah. And the other thing we talked about, I said the balloon and then you just reinforced it. The other thing about it is like, if I breathe air out of my mouth, you can't see it unless it's cold
True.
outside.
Right.
Right. But
That's
like,
true.
but like you'll have something that's empty, but you breathe hope into it. It fills up. It does take shape. Right. So
It
you
shapes
got to
up.
have hope 100%. Yeah. All
You've
right.
got
So
to have
that's,
hope.
you absolutely have to have it. Okay. So that is the H in your framework and we're spelling out heart. And so the next thing is
Yeah.
empowerment. Right. So I don't know how many times we've got to say it, but you've got to give your people the power to get stuff done. Right. So talk
Yes.
about empowerment. You define it in the book as find your leadership rhythm by embracing both wins and failures. Talk a little bit about
Oh
empowering
my goodness.
people.
Yeah. So one thing about empowerment that I found is that we like to give a lot of responsibility when we say we're giving empowerment to our teams, but we're not giving the authority. So when I talk about empowerment, it's not only understanding the responsibility, but also the authority that
Mm-hmm.
you, first of all, as a person that you have in, the choices, the authority, and even setting out boundaries. And then also when leading other teams, it's not only the responsibility, right? But it's also the authority that comes with it. Empowerment, one of the great ways that I've seen leaders, amazing leaders do it, is through delegation, but the right form of delegation, not just like, hey, this is your baby, have fun at it. Which some people think like, hey, they were empowering. No, like empowerment is also systematic, a process, an ability to be
That's
able to
right.
help people
And
grow through it.
expectations. Right.
That is correct. And one thing I realized even for myself, as much as I wanted my team to be empowered, if I as a leader did not also feel empowered, like I couldn't empower others by disempowering myself. I had to also feel empowered in what I did, which also meant I had to have mentors. I had to have coaches. I had to have people that would help me, because as a leader, I needed to be fueled and empowered. And there's blind spots. So unless I have somebody else that's working along with me, somebody that I can look up to, part of empowerment didn't mean that I'm giving it all away. It also means that I'm finding a way that I'm also receiving that I'm also surrounding myself with people that are going to help me see the blind spots, the people that are going to help me fill up my hope,
That's right.
fuel me up. Right. And that is as much to do with empowering teams. I also had to be systematic in empowering myself with great people around me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I tell this story all the time, Hannah, about how I worked for several apartment management companies. And then I got hired by this company called Summit. And when I
Uh-huh.
got sat down, the leaders at that company said to me, I want you to think about this. You have a fiduciary responsibility. And I was like, I need a dictionary. What does that mean? And so they were they were like, well, what that means is we want you to run this apartment community like you own it. And so the part you said about making decisions, I
Uh-huh.
think that is the number one thing, is that you have to give people the ability, as you say in your definition, to embrace wins and failures. So
Yes.
I made some decisions that were knucklehead decisions, like, oh, that was not the smartest way to roll. But then I also made decisions that like won the day. Right. And so
Mhm.
I only go through the learning curve if I get to do both. Right. And you got to empower me to
Right.
get messy. As long as I'm not burning the house down, it's important to give people that responsibility that you're talking about. And you leaders, you've got enough to do. Give some of this stuff
Yeah.
away for sure. All right.
Yeah.
So the third thing in your heart framework is accountability. Right. And
Mhm.
so I don't know, Hannah, everywhere I go, people are whispering to me, we need to hold people accountable at our place. And I'm like, okay, well, let's start doing that. So how do we hold people accountable? How does that play into things?
See, and here's the thing, right? Because a lot of times accountability comes with a lot of fear. Even in like when you talk about change management or you're talking about the cultures, holding accountable means like, hey, we're really going to make them,
Do it.
but accountability is beyond that. It starts with accountability to yourself, right? I know. And that's a part that I talk about in my book, well, like that we do in the mini shift, that growing in accountability. Because a lot of times we are afraid of accountability because of what that may mean. We use data to hold people accountable, but we're not using data to help people grow. So in accountability comes not only the sense of like, hey, what are my commitments? How am I doing in light of those commitments? But really the community. Accountability cannot happen just by yourself. Accountability happens in community. So one of the values in accountability, in order for me to be held accountable, I need to belong somewhere. I need to belong in a part of a group of people that are helping me grow where we're sharing the same purpose. So accountability is also very much tied with purpose. Not just like, hey, what are we doing? How much should I do it with? But how accountable am I to my purpose? What am I meant to do? And the best way to do that again is as part of community. There's a lot of growth that can happen on our own, obviously. I mean, it starts with your own self-awareness. But when you're talking about truly expandable growth, and that's why it's so beautiful organizations. I mean, I love organizations for the beauty that they are. It's because you have a group of people, right, that share that mission, that share that vision, that share the values, are in a group of people where we can truly come together, be held accountable, right? The mission holds us all accountable to do it. But in that accountability is really the innovation is being built because the accountability pulls us to be a better version today than what we were yesterday. And we're going to define what that better looks like together because we're accountable to that mission.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, accountability, your definition here is harmonize with others to maximize your impact. Start with yourself, but flourishing in a community. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you got to like set down the expectations again for the community to be accountable. And then it
Mhm.
starts with yourself, right? So you're part of that community. I love it. All right. So the R stands for results.
Yes.
Again, it's Heartnomics, right? So we do have to get some results. We
Got it.
stated at the
So,
beginning, you got to start with the people, but there won't be any people in this organization if there isn't a profit because we've got to make payroll. We got to expand. We got to grow. We got to create opportunities for promotion. So we've got to make money. So what about results? You say orchestrate success by focusing on impactful outcomes in the bigger picture.
right. And it has to deal with what are the outcomes? I mean, because there's the financial numbers, there's also the impact, right? So results. And I find that in our everyday, when you ask somebody, well, how are you doing? They're busy. Everybody's busy. We're going from one to one to one to one. Even in a digital world, a lot of our interactions and communication may be around tasks. How did you do the task? Even with virtual assistants, the global workplace has become a list of like, hey, emails on updates on tasks, the tasks that we're doing in the different apps that we have to keep tasks, right? We have ClickUp, we have Asana, we have,
It goes
right?
on and on.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, all of these tools really I had to lead to getting results because really that's what are we doing this, in alignment. The results is also going to again be measured to your purpose, going to be measured to what it is that we're doing. What are the results that we want? Is the results that we're getting right here, that the value that we have, the commitment that we have to those results. That means that I'm also committed to metrics. There has to be a way that we measure. There has to be a shared way that you and I both agree that a result is going to be measured. So the results there is not only like, hey, are we getting the impact of the finances, but also coming to an agreement on how are we going to envision this? What does this look like so that we know at the end of the day, today, that's all we can count on, right? Today, how did I know that I won today? How do we know as a team we won today? And better doesn't always mean like, hey, I just did more today. Like I got more tasks, but really the impact, right? Did I do the one thing today? Did I obtain the result doing that one thing that we had envisioned together to do? So results very much is about that conversation. It's about understanding the purpose. It's understanding, well, how do I measure that? How am I being intentional in what I'm doing to obtain that result? And how do I know I'm getting there? What's the metric? We gotta know it. We gotta
Yeah,
define it.
absolutely. Yeah. And so, we know inside of organizations, we have these things called KPIs, key
Yes.
productivity indicators. So notice the word productivity. But, when I'm coaching leaders, Hannah, I'm sure same with you, is that, I'm talking to them all the time about the habits that they have in
Mhm.
place and instilling these habits, right? So I think the best result you could ever get is a repeated behavior that serves your people in your organization that you finally get in there
Yes,
every
sir.
day or whenever it needs to be, right? So how are you improving, the impact you're having and having that impactful outcome? So that could be, like you said, financial, but of course it could be like the team is more cohesive. The team is more clear,
Right.
right? I've cast the
Right.
vision. I told them stories today. I've done the things that reinforce the quality of customer service that we want to have. So lots of great
Yeah.
leadership things you can do to get results that are habitual.
Yeah. And I love the word that you just used because how does this serve? And definitely result deals with how does it serve the team? How did it serve the people today? How did it serve the mission today? And that results is very much measured by that. How is it serving? And I think that's one of the parts where in this whole busyness and this chaos and having to manage different things, we many times are not paying attention to how is it serving what we have said that we're going to do, but also how we're measuring it. And it's our key factors, right? Because those are, the KPIs. We're looking at that, the productivity factors and the key, what's supposed to be key, right? Who came up with that? Sometimes people like
Oh,
don't know, like, oh, where
we
did
could
it,
we
did
could
it?
Google it. We could totally Google it. I'm
Yeah.
sure somebody put it on the map first, and it's in some white paper or theory somewhere.
Right. But even with the people, like, are the stakeholders, are they part of that conversation? So when you're talking about results, and serving, am I engaging as far as the results, the stakeholders to this part necessary? Because all of that is going to dictate to me what the results really need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So we could look at the KPIs and look at the different results. So you've got to have employee engagement and you have to have profit, right? You got to have both of these. And what we would call that, actually, there's this really great thing out there called a balanced scorecard.
Yes.
Right. So you can have KPIs, but they can be all one-sided, right? They're all about
Yep.
sales and closing the deal and whatever. But then on the other side, you've got to have the things that balance that out. Are the employees engaged? Are they happy? Are things going well? Are people getting promoted? Are you hiring people? There's all sorts of things, but it should be
Oh,
balanced.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the collective impact, right? Because we're here for the community. You think about business serves a purpose. Yes, we are providing a product. Yes, we are employing people. We're keeping families. That's part of it, but it's part of a big ecosystem. You talk about the social responsibility aspect of what are we going to do? We're going to solve this problem, but also being able to forecast things that are coming ahead because we know what we're experiencing. How can we help our people, our community, our stakeholders be able to prepare for the future that we see? And that very much has to do with the balance scorecard too, being able to see the future things that are coming up.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Are you ready to build your vibrant culture? Bring Nicole Greer to speak to your leadership team, conference, or organization to help them with their strategies, systems, and smarts to increase clarity, accountability, energy, and results. Your organization will get lit from within. Email her at nicole@vibrantculture.com and be sure to check out Nicole's TEDx talk at vibrantculture.com.
All right, so the last thing in heart is trust. And
Ah.
so whenever I hear that word, I just think all the way to the way back. I got this book a long time ago called Speed of Trust. It's by Stephen Covey's son, Stevie M. Covey. And that's what I think of every time I hear that. So if y'all haven't read that book, go read that book. Plus also read Hannah's book, all right? Hustle with Heart, do that. But you put in here your definition of trust: sustain the heartbeat of your legacy by having faith in the process, even when the immediate differences aren't visible. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
So with trust for me, I mean, again, trust is part of the relationship, right? Even in business, we look at that. We do business with people we know, we like, and we
Trust. That's right.
right? So there's that trust. So, and we know it's not to say one thing. I mean, even when we talk about returning customers or even employee retention, when we're talking about even attracting new talent, it all is a matter of trust. Really, trust for a leader is the currency. That's the exchange. So you think about that as a leader, trust being that currency with your team, trust being what we're building off really the entire organization. How am I growing myself, trusting myself? Because I see that honestly. I think even with the new technology tools, one of the things I'm seeing with leaders is the lack of confidence, the lack of trust, not only their abilities, like, well, I need to check it with AI, I need to check it with this, I need to do, all these things, the signals that are saying that maybe I can't even trust fully myself. And that is one of the parts. If I can't really trust myself, how am I going to trust my team? So in the trust aspect, we have to grow in that efficacy as leaders because we're going to have to give trust away. We're going to have to also ask for people to trust us. So it's a constant deposit, it's a constant withdrawal when we're talking about leadership, and trust is one of the main things in relationships. I mean, if you don't have trust in a relationship, do you even have a relationship? No, because I think about it. We have to grow in trust. And it's not like, just trust me. I have to be intentional in growing in trust in myself because there's a lot of things that are telling me like, hey, of lack of confidence. And that is hard. And you will see that with leaders that are not confident, leaders that are very confident, because how can you delegate? How are you going to empower your team if you don't trust? How are you going to have hope in the vision if you don't trust the vision? I mean, like, you need trust. It's very much a part of what we do every day. And it's very alive in a capitalist economy, in a emotional economy, relational economy. Trust is going to be the number one thing that we need to be intentional to grow in. And not only in what we think, but we really need to understand, what do our people need so they can trust me as a leader, so they can trust our organization, so that customers can trust us. So it is something that not only do we grow, but we also understand that in serving, how do I meet the trust needs of the ones that I'm doing this work with and the work for?
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. And so I just want to say something about the confidence piece that you mentioned. I think it's really important. So I had a mentor that broke down the word confidence for me. And the first part, con, is con, and it's the Latin prefix that means with. And then fidence is like from fidelity, which means loyalty. And so when you said earlier, Hanna, it's this loyalty to yourself first, right?
Yeah.
So like really trying to eradicate any of the doubts, or there's this thing running around out there in the world, Hanna, I bet you run into it all the time. Everybody's talking about the imposter syndrome. I think I have it. I'm like, oh no, let's not invent a pill for this. Let's just get rid of it, right? So this imposter syndrome is everywhere I go. But like, if you've gotten yourself into a leadership position, you must know something. Most other leaders are not going, I don't think Hanna can do it, but let's promote her anyway. I mean, like, that's not what's happening out there. If Hanna got promoted, somebody's like, I think Hanna can do it, And
Yeah.
so it's oftentimes like you're saying that others have confidence in you. It could be that you're the holdup, right? That you're not having that confidence in yourself, right?
Yeah, no, and that's why it's so important. And that is what the book is about. This is first an internal journey, right? It's that the internal alignment so they can do external execution. And if I am not growing in trust in myself, I'm not going to be able to serve my team well
That's right.
because everything I do, as far as even getting the ideas, I have to trust, right? I mean, if I don't trust my team when we're around the table, then the only agenda items that make it there are my agenda items. It's not them because I don't trust them to know better. So I need to trust my team so our agendas and our meetings can be better. I need to trust my team so that we can actually have innovation, so that the ideas that are being tried out and implemented, we're really trying. And that takes trust. But I cannot give something away that I don't have. So I need to go as an intentional leader, as a leader that really is growing. We need to put a very big priority daily because it's a daily thing. It's not one time I trust myself. You're daily making deposits and taking withdrawals from the trust. And as a leader, growing in that confidence. And there's a lot of things that are supposedly smart, right? Even water smart. So like, when is the last time we call human smart?
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. Trust deals very much with that humanity because it is this exchange and really getting back in trust with the human that I am, understanding the experiences, being able to, like you said, like somebody saw something in me,
Right.
something
Right.
that I got there, and to tap into that. And no tool's gonna do that. Humanity is gonna do that.
That's exactly right. And I just want to say another thing about trust because it's everything, as you've said. There's this thing of you got to earn trust. I think that's a big part
Yes.
of it, right? So you have to earn it. So there's a little work that goes on,
Oh yes.
right? So you got to show
Yeah.
up, you got to show out, you got to have the heart, you got to have the hustle, right? The hustle.
Yes.
There it is. Hustle with
Yes.
heart. You got to have that. And here's what I think too, and I love the word hustle, by the way. First of all, I love disco. Second of all, hustle is just showing your determination, your work ethic, putting it
Yeah.
out there. It's a huge thing to have hustle. I mean, I think that got me a very long way. It's still serving me to this day. They're
Yeah.
like, that Nicole Greer has a lot of energy. And if you haven't noticed, Miss Hanna has a lot of energy as well. And so it's like that hustle, people go, she's going to take care of it. Even if she doesn't know what she's doing, she's a
Yeah.
figure outer.
To
She's going to
figure
figure it out, She's
hopeful.
right. She's going to get in the room with a flip chart and all of her hope and blow up a balloon. That's what she's going to do. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a big part of it. So you have to earn it. The other thing is you have to extend it.
Yes.
Because sometimes people, you don't know if they can do something, but you have been watching other things they're doing and you're like, all indicators say, if given a chance, this person will probably pull it off. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. The empowerment piece. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because when we do that, when we stand, right, when we stand trust, we're empowering them.
that's
Like you
right.
said, when we extend that confidence, we are empowering those teams to be able to do that. Again, that's why it's important for us as leaders to grow in it because we cannot give what we don't have. So we must be very intentional every day in growing in that efficacy. And it is little by little. I mean, a little bit, today, it's just a little bit more. How am I doing with my trust factor? How am I measuring that? How do I know if I am that confident leader? How do I know if I am empowering my people? How do I know if I am hopeful in this area or not? So I need to know how am I measuring this? Because the worst thing every day is to wake up, you have had the hustle, but you don't have anything to show for it, or you don't think you do because maybe you were not intentional in saying, well, how is this going to fit into the picture? And it very much goes back to that purpose and that fulfillment, right? Because that's why we do hustle, because there's fulfillment in operating in your strength. There's fulfillment in operating and doing this messy part of feeling if I don't know what I'm doing here, because there's purpose in it. And when there's purpose in it, it makes it all worth it. And then at the end of the day, hey, I operated in my purpose, even though it didn't look clean and it wasn't everything that I expected it to be. Then I help other people also operate in their purpose, which is what us as leaders is one of the greatest things. It's great when we do it, but it's absolutely amazing when we see other people operate in their purpose as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And so, what you're talking about is so real to me because I read a book, everybody write this down, called The Path. I read it like
Mhm.
in 2006 or something, changed my life. And in there, talks about creating a mission statement for work and life. And it's by Lori Beth
Mm.
Jones. It's so fantastic. Get that book. If you want the document that goes with her book, email me at Nicole@vibrantculture.com and I'll send it to you. But, when she keeps saying purpose, 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 what she's saying is like, people are boring for a reason and they're good at certain things and other people are not good at certain things. And so when we figure out like what we're really good at and we get to apply it, it's that old saying that you've never worked a day in your life because you love what you do. You're working in your purpose. And then you get this fulfillment, like you fill up.
This fulfillment.
Right? Like
Yeah.
the inside of you
Yeah.
is like, you're like the balloon and you fill up. You're like, oh my God, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Which
Right.
is so
It is
huge.
exactly fill up. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's
And
nothing like it in the world to do the work you're born to do.
yeah, it's like, purpose is what we give out to the world, fulfillment is what we receive back. And it's very true. I mean, I have 5 kids. So there's like days that you just like, well,
Okay, hold on.
especially
We're
when
going to
they
have
were
a
all
minute
like
of silence and prayer for Hanna. She has
thank you,
5
please.
children. Don't miss that.
5. 5 children. And I mean, it can get chaotic. I mean, especially when you're running a business, you're going through all kinds of market disruptions. You still have bills to get paid. Like you're trying to like, hey, I want to be the best version of myself today too. Like how do you do that? But going back to purpose can look different at different times of your life, and it's okay. The way that because you're still operating in that, it just looks different. But the fulfillment, there's days where I've been completely fulfilled just by doing what we call simple things, and it's still fulfillment because it's my purpose. And it's really understanding that purpose doesn't only have to be when you're doing this one certain thing, this one way and professionally only, but it's really that summary of a whole, embracing the person who you are because you're still the same, even if you're changing diapers or you're out there in a board meeting, doing a big pitch. I mean, I've had to do that. I've had to do like, especially in 2020, like I had a kid, a C-section between that one time I'm like doing a webinar, like for a lot of different technology people, like for a big corporation. And like 20 minutes later, I'm having to make sure that the baby's fed and changed and all that, and then go back. And it's embracing all of it at the different times. So one thing I've found, even with making like the whole vibrancy, right, is embracing the time and the season that you're in as a leader, as a human, as a person, really. Because when you embrace it, not only are you operating in your purpose, but you're open to the fulfillment. Because a lot of times it's not that the fulfillment's not happening, you're just not open to it because maybe it's not like this. It has to be no, but being open to the fulfillment that comes from operating in your purpose at that time and whatever that looks like at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right. So this book is full of things called mini shifts. So first of all,
Yes.
define a mini shift. What is a mini shift?
Well, as I mentioned to you, I was actually literally attached to a bed for many days, weeks, months. I mean, I couldn't, simple things as a kid, imagine that. I couldn't even go to the bathroom or couldn't go to the playground. I would see kids from outside, even people walking, I couldn't walk without my heart going into dangerous rhythms. So I had to learn that even like a little thing, even like moving my finger, even like I would create like little storyline, like just my fingers, just because I didn't have access to TV at times. So like little many things, I'm still finding that fulfillment and ability to grow in my creativity. There was nothing stopping me from thinking. There was nothing stopping me from being creative. And even that creativity, when I had the opportunity to do something about it, do something with it. If it was coloring, if it was my fingers, if it was standing up, if it was whatever that was, whatever ingenuity would bring me to that. And that's where the mini shifts came up because once I was well, I had my normal card. It's like, hey, everything's good. You can go out there and live. I didn't know how to. I mean, I had been in a hospital for months. So I've had this feeling of always like being behind. Like I was always like running behind all of the like, okay, well, I didn't get to go to school normal. I didn't get to do all this stuff. But when I started embracing that the smallest action would trump the greatest intention. And it was just the small action at a time. When I started seeing that, and when I started going back, even if for any of you who have been in a hospital, because sometimes your goals get to like just stand up today. And that was a win for the day. Sometimes it was like, hey, walk around the hallway for one time. And that was like the biggest thing. Oh my gosh. You had the greatest celebrations on some of them, things that we take for granted a lot of times, yet there were moments to celebrate. So when I also remember going back from those lessons that I learned, that even in the small thing, to celebrate that small thing is what started leading to the mini shifts, to the transformation. Because I realized with every mini shift, it was a compound effect to be able to take me to where I wanted to get to eventually. And it did. The many chefs are realizing that it doesn't take much. We think like, oh, events are life changing. But really, what changes is sustainability is a process. Like the daily things, like you talked about the daily
Yeah, the
habits.
habit.
Those daily habits, really, right?
It is all
Is
habit work.
every single day. So sometimes we overestimate the impact of like those big things, of the big events or the big accomplishment here. And we tend to underestimate the daily small things that we do every day that really are miracles. I mean, they're miracles to somebody right now. For those of you that are listening, like walking, breathing, being able to go out there, there's small shifts. I mean, if you think about it, every single one of those compounded make that amazing, vibrant life. So the mini shift idea came from that. I can't do it all, but what can I do today? The smallest action that is going to take me to the transformation that I want to see in my life.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. So many shifts, everybody. It's like a neural passageway you put in place. That's what we're talking about here. Okay. So we have time for highlighting one mini shift. But everybody, I want you to go out and get this book, Hustle with Heart. Do that. 52 Mini Shifts to Maximize Your Impact by Hanna Bauer. So number 24, which is on page 51, says lead with integrity, comma, always. And the reason why I picked this one to Hanna to highlight is because in my Shine coaching methodology, integrity is the I. I think it's really important to hold yourself in integrity. And so there's three parts to these mini shifts. The first thing is you have a thought, right? You have a neural passageway that's in place that we want to get rid of. And it's called the draining thought. And here's the draining thought for this one. It's tempting to cut corners where no one is watching. Right? Then you have a mini shift, which is you're going to reinsert a new thought, right? Shift from short-term gains to long-term integrity, understanding that true leadership requires unwavering honesty. And my assumption is that's with yourself first, just like trust, and then with others. And then you have to have your heart to heart. Just as a healthy heart keeps the body alive, integrity keeps your leadership thriving. Without it, everything else breaks down. And I know that you are a John Maxwell advocate, as I am, and he says that everything rises and falls on leadership. And the reason why you would fall is because you were out of integrity around.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think even that's why social media, at least at the beginning, it was like because people thought they were getting a backstage look at everything. We're yearning for the honesty, yearning for, hey, is this real? And knowing that first I have to be real with myself. And that's one of the greatest things that we get to do as leaders, that we get to define the current reality. That's one of the first things we have to do. Because as we're looking at changing, right, as we're looking at improving, as we're looking at fixing something or whatever it is that we're looking to do, one of the greatest things that we have to do is define where are we at right now. Being hopeful doesn't mean that get amnesia and that I forget the reality of what's going on. In the contrary, is because I define the reality, I'm honest with my team, I'm honest with myself. Where are we? Then I can build from that, build the hope, build the empowerment, build the trust. People, that's where I get trust. You can't have trust without integrity.
Right.
Integrity is the lifeline for that, for the leader, because it's fueled by trust.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. All right, everybody, we're at the bottom of the hour. It is time for this podcast to end. And I know y'all are screaming at your Spotify. Please don't let her go. But I'm going to tell you, you can get 51 more mini shifts to maximize your impact. And maybe, you take on, I don't know why you did 52. Maybe because there's 52 weeks in a year. You could work on one a week, something like that.
One a week.
That's right.
One little mini shift. For those that have no time, one line a day. That's all you got to do. One line a day.
Yeah. Well, I know everybody's just dying. They're like, please let her give us one more nugget of wisdom. Is there one last thing that you would share with everybody? Like one thing you'd like them to remember you by as we end the podcast?
Yeah, no, I thank you for asking that. I love the name when you have vibrant, because it does talk very much about fulfillment as well. And that is one of the parts is like, life is meant to be enjoyed. Leadership is meant to be enjoyed. And that's one of the greatest things that we get to do is that leadership is service. So, and it starts serving with, your purpose and serving the people that you're doing the purpose with. So I want you all to remember that, enjoy it, find the fulfillment, go back to your purpose, but you find the rest and the rhythm in what you do, because there is a rhythm. And I've having lived with heart disease where it's out of rhythm, it feels tiring. So there is a rhythm that you need to go in. So embrace it, go out there, and live full, live vibrant, be fulfilled, and enjoy your leadership.
Good advice. All right, everybody. If you want to get a hold of Hanna Bauer, Hanna, how do we find you? Where do we go?
Oh, well, you can go to my website, heartnomics.com, HEART nomics, NOMICS.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn under Hanna Bauer. So those are the fastest ways that you can find me.
Okay, fantastic. Well, everybody, it's been another amazing episode of the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. Go out and get Hanna's book, Hustle with Heart. And Hanna, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Nicole.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more like-minded listeners. Remember, the journey to building a vibrant culture never stops. Stay inspired, keep nurturing your vibrant culture, and we can't wait to reconnect with you on the next exciting episode of the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast.